Hi, welcome back to Joe's DIY. Back again with another video. Today we're going to be finishing up the 70s, hopefully, starting from the S's all the way up to the Z's. And I also wanted to thank everyone for sticking around long enough to see the end of my 70s records. I know it's a lot, but like I said, they do constitute a good substantial amount of my records. So without any further ado, starting us off is a band that recently I've just gotten into. I've accumulated a few of their records, but I'm going to be honest, I haven't really heard each one. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with Steely Dan, Countdown to Ecstasy. This is a pretty decent album. I have to tell you that the first album, and if I can only remember the name, but I'm going to go ahead and post it up, a picture of it. That's one of the albums I don't have from Steely Dan that I've been wanting to get because it's got Reeling in the Years. So I'm going to eventually get it, hopefully. But I do like a lot of music from that album. But Countdown to Ecstasy, I mean, it's a decent album. It's got Bodhisattva. It's got Showbiz Kids, My Old School. So a couple of good songs here from the second album of Steely Dan. Next up is Steely Dan, Pretzel Logic. This is a very good album. A lot of people put this as their number one or number two album from the band. I quite enjoy this album. Obviously, the big hit here was Ricky, Don't Lose That Number. But I also enjoy Pretzel Logic, Charlie Freak, Through with Buzz. A couple of good songs here from Steely Dan's album, Pretzel Logic. Next up is The Royal Scam by Steely Dan. A couple of good songs here that I quite enjoy. You got Kid Charlemagne, Don't Take Me Alive, Haitian Divorce, Royal Scam. So a lot of good songs here from Steely Dan. And I like that cover, it's kind of funny. But yeah, Royal Scam. Next up is a pretty big album for Steely Dan, and that is, I like to say Asia, but some people say Aja, so I'm just going to stick with Asia. I like that album cover. It looks kind of cool. But obviously, this is kind of like a lot of people's number one Steely Dan album. A lot of good songs here. You got Black Cow, Peg, Josie, Home at Last. So, good albums here. Deacon Blues. One of those albums you open up. Gatefold. So, yeah. Very good album by Steely Dan. Next up is an album that I really haven't listened to. I got it and I heard mixed reviews about it. Some people really like it. Some people think it's not as good as the albums before it. And that's Steely Dan Gaucho. I'm not going to go too much into this album because I haven't heard it. But all I can tell you is that it's had mixed reviews. And it's not a gatefold, so Gaucho. And next up is an album that I definitely heard, and this is kind of just going to take it out of order because I should have probably put this one before Asia, but Steely Dan, Katie Lied. Kind of a weird choice for album cover. I don't know why a grasshopper. I think that's what that is. But a lot of good songs here. Black Friday, Bad Sneakers. Dr. Wu. Your Gold Teeth 2. Throw Back the Little Ones. Everyone's gone to the movies, so here's a good picture of the band members in the back of it. Yeah, so pretty good album, Katie Lied. And then this is, I'm going to be honest with you, this is probably my to-go album to listen to by Steely Dan, and that's the Greatest Hits. So this has all their hits and all their better songs from, I guess, the beginning, from the first album all the way up to Gaucho, I think. But it's got good stuff here. Yeah, Do It Again. I can't think of the names of songs sometimes. Do It Again is the song that I really like from Steely Dan. And I know it's not supposed to be everyone's favorite, but that's the song that I first heard by the band. So that's the one that stuck in my mind. That's the one that I like. But it's got all their hits here. If you're just barely getting into the band, this is a good way to start. All right, next up is Steppenwolf, and For Ladies Only. And I'm not going to open up the gatefold because the picture in there isn't work friendly or not safe for work. But you can look that up online if you'd like. But this is a pretty good album. It's got it's got Black Pit, Ride With Me, The Night's Time For You. It's got For Ladies Only, Shackles and Chains, I'm Asking. So pretty good music here by Steppenwolf. Go ahead and put that back. Next up is Stevie Wonder, Inner Visions. So I have gotten a chance to pick up a few albums by Stevie Wonder. Good album here. Higher Ground, Golden Lady, Visions, Living for the City. So a couple of very good songs here by Stevie Wonder. This is a gatefold, so I'll go ahead and just show the inside of it. So, very good album by Stevie Wonder. Next up is Talking Book, another Stevie Wonder album. And the only album actually that I don't have of Stevie Wonder is Songs to the Key of Life, and been meaning to get that album. I've picked it up once or twice, but there's always a problem with the album. It's either missing a record or it's in really bad shape, so have not included it in my collection. But Talking Book is pretty good. Some of the songs here, You Are the Sunshine of My Life is a pretty well known song. Superstition is kind of like the big hit from this album, and then I Believe. So good music here by Stevie Wonder, and here's the inside of the gatefold. So yeah, Stevie Wonder Talking Book. Next up is the Steve Miller Band, and this is Book of Dreams. This is a very good album. I'm very happy that I got this when I heard Steve Miller album here. Threshold is a really good song. Jet Airliner is one of my favorite songs. Swing Town is really good. Jungle Love, Wish Upon a Star, Sacrifice. So, very classic Steve Miller Band album, Book of Dreams. Next up is an album that actually it came with the turntable that I bought. The girl, I guess, didn't want the album. She mentioned that it was a gift from her boyfriend that she was no longer with. And she said that I could keep the album because she didn't want the turntable or the album because it was a gift from him. And the album is Supertramp. And I think this album's called Breakfast in America. I've heard a lot about this album. A lot of people like it for some reason. I heard parts of it, but I really couldn't get into the music. I kept it just so that maybe I might give it another chance down the road. I know a lot of people like Supertramp, but I just couldn't get into this album. And yeah, there's the backside of the album. So yeah, Supertramp. Next up is a greatest hits compilation by one of the bands that is from the 60s, but also had pretty notable hits in the 70s, and that's Tommy James and the Shondells. A lot of people don't know that this is the band that actually sings all those classic kind of songs that you could picture people cruising around in the 70s, such as Crystal Blue Persuasion, Chrism and Clover. That's kind of a big 70s song that a lot of people think about. But that's the same band that actually also sang Money Money and Hanky Panky and Sweet Cherry Wine. You know, they got good songs from both the 60s and the 70s, which I thought was pretty cool. It's a gatefold, so I'll show the inside. And the back of the album. The only song that I wish was in here is Towing the Line, but it's I guess it didn't make the cut for this greatest hits, but good album here. Next up is a couple of albums by the same artist. And I'll start off with Ted Nugent's Cat Scratch Fever. Obviously one of his classic albums here. I'm not going to show the backside because I don't want to get flagged, but you got obviously Cat Scratch Fever, Wang Dang, Sweet Poontang, Live It Up, Fist Fighting, Son of a Gun, Out of Control. So good albums here. Good songs by Ted Nugent here. Now, I don't think this is the first album, but it's a good, notable album. And next up is Ted Nugent Free For All. See if this is safe to show. Yeah, should be good. So there's a good picture of Uncle Ted with his Birdland. Here's the back side of it. And that's the inside of the gatefold. So you got Dog Eat Dog, Free For All, Hammer Down, Street Rats, Turn It Up, because Here We Go Again. So a lot of good songs here by Ted Nugent, Free For All. And the next album is honestly the album that I probably hear the most. And it's the best of Ted Nugent, Great Gonzo. So it's got all the classic, Ted Nugent songs from the 70s. Cat Scratch Fever, Just What the Doctor Ordered, Free For All, Dog Eat Dog, Motor City Madhouse, Paralyzed, Stranglehold, which is one of my favorite Ted Nugent songs. And yes, I know that's pretty predictable, but come on, it's his best song. And, I really like that song. So, it's one of the first songs that I try to learn playing guitar. So I really like that song. Baby Please Don't Go, Wango Tango, Sweet Dang, Sweet Poo Dang. So this album is actually the one that I play the most, and I can listen to this from beginning to end because it's got all the best Ted Nugent songs. So great guitar player, great music. Really enjoy this album. Next album is unfortunately a record that I don't actually have the sleeve. I found it just with the jacket on, but is let me say the whole name completely. T-Rex Bull Boogie. So, and there you can see the price tag for the Goodwill right there. It just has a fly on there. I don't even know if this is the original jacket, but the record sleeve was missing from this album, but I still picked it up. Get It On, Bang a Gong is the big hit from here. The King of the Mountain Cometh, Jewel. She Was Born to Be With My Unicorn. Ride a White Swan. So a lot of original T-Rex songs here. Next up is one of the albums I usually would put in my 60s stack, but I was not able to fit it in, so I think I just let it roll over to my 70s stack since it was an album released in the 70s. So it is Rock and Roll Music to the World 10 Years After. And as I mentioned earlier, I am not too aware of this band. I just barely got a big lot of their music, so I haven't been able to listen to all the albums. But I really, I've heard a little bit of Alvin Lee's guitar playing, so I'm definitely going to give it a try as soon as I'm able to. But there's a good look at the album. And then this is look at the back. And then this album is actually in pretty good condition because the sleeve still feels pretty good, like almost brand new. So yeah, 10 Years After, Rock and Roll to the World. Todd Rundgren's Something. I'll be honest with you, I'm not too familiar with Todd Rundgren, so I'm not listening to much of his music. I know that he's a pretty prolific songwriter, but obviously the big hit here was I think it's called Hello. Not sure of the song title here. I just want to pull it out, make sure that I didn't mistake that. Hello, It's Me. There you go. So the song that my wife's been listening to is Hello, It's Me, and it's only because she heard the song on an episode of Sex and the City, so she's into that song. Next up is a couple of albums by, I think he's kind of been forgotten a little bit by time, because not many people know about him, but a lot of people cite him as an influence, and that's Tommy Bolin. And I got the first album, Teaser. I think he only released 2 albums. And I also have Tommy Bolin, Private Eyes. And I've heard a little, like maybe one side of this album, and I didn't get a chance to listen to the second side. and it's kind of a mix of, you know, rock. So you could get a little bit jazzy in there too. I like that. It's a little bit different and kind of unexpected for a guy that's known to, you know, play rock in rock bands. But it's a pretty. I really like the first side. I haven't listened to the second side yet. And this one, I just barely heard the first track. So I haven't really got much to say about it yet. But yeah, a couple of Tommy Bolin albums that are pretty good so far from what I've listened to. Next up is Toto, and this is, I think, the debut album. And then this one has Hold the Line, which is kind of like the big hit from this album. And I'm not a huge Toto fan. I like a couple of their songs. I think I like that album they released in the 80s, Toto 4. I think that's what it's called. I think that's probably like my favorite album because it's got like some of their well-known songs. I know that many people praise them for the musicianship of their playing. So I tried listening to this album once. I wasn't too into it, but I'll probably give it another listen to because maybe there's something there. There probably is. I just haven't really paid close attention yet. So maybe this one deserves a second listen or two. So next up is a couple of albums by the same band. I got UFO Lights Out and UFO Strangers in the Night. So the reason I'm pulling them both out is because I have not listened to these albums yet. I know that so many people always say great things about UFO, but these two I just got maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and I haven't had a chance. I've been so busy, I've not had a chance to listen to them, but I'm going to. This one's not a gatefold, so this is the front. This is the back. This one is a gatefold, and I'll go ahead and show the inside. This is the back. So yeah, UFO Strangers in the Night. Next up are a couple of records by the same band. I'm going to go ahead and just pull them out. And this is one of the bands that I just barely started listening to. So I don't really have anything much to say about the album other than they have really cool album covers. But the band that I'm talking about is Uriah Heep. Honestly, until the internet, I've never heard of this band. I didn't know that they were kind of like a hard rock band, kind of like in the same light as Deep Purple, I believe. But yeah, I started seeing their albums pop up in a couple of thrift stores that I had gone to, and I've accumulated a couple of them, and I just have not had a chance to listen to them. But this is the self-titled Uriah Heep, and here's some kind of insert. And here is the cover, the inside of the gatefold for that cover. And the other cover art is some kind of demon, I think, or something like that. But they're supposed to be one of those 70s hard rock bands that a lot of people like, but I have not been able to listen to their music yet. And then the other album that I saw, and I think this is probably one of their better albums from what I've heard, is Uriah Heep, Look at Yourself. And I couldn't name anything in regards to the album. Here's the back of it. Really cool cover. It's got like a mirror in front of, so you can see those lights that I have behind my camera. But yeah, this is the other album that I got, Uriah Heep, Look at Yourself. And then I got next Uriah Heep, Salisbury. I think that's what it says. And again, you got some kind of demon here in the front. And this is not a gatefold, so you just get a back. And then you got Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards. I think this is probably one of their better albums. And I think this is the gatefold, so I'm going to go ahead and open that up. So there's the front, and there's the back side, and the inside of the album. So I have not had a chance to listen to this band. I I don't know why. I think I maybe forgotten. I had the stack there. I just haven't had a chance to listen to them. But yeah, Uriah Heep. I think we'll have one more album. The next album I'm just not going to be able to show, but you can look up online the name of it. It's called Fallen Angel by Uriah Heep. It's not one of their best albums, but I think it's most notable for the album cover. And I believe this inspired the character of the Fallen Angel back in Florida Championship Wrestling back in the 80s. There was a character, and she was the Fallen Angel. And I think this cover inspired her character. And she happens to also be Nancy Benoit, who tragically passed away. I don't really want to get too much into that because it's kind of a sad story, but if you're interested, you could just look up her name online and you could see what happened. And you probably already know if you're a wrestling fan. But anyways, The Fallen Angel, you can look up the album cover online if you want, but I'm not going to show it. Next up is a live album by Van Morrison. It's a live album from recordings in Los Angeles and London in summer of 1973. So there's the front cover. I do like Van Morrison. I have to say I probably only like maybe two of his albums, 2 or 3 of his albums. I'm not a huge Van Morrison fan because I mean he is that singer-songwriter type in my category at least. Although he does, I think there's more to him than just the singer-songwriter. I mean, he's not there always playing with acoustic guitars. I think he has a band backing him, and he is more rock and roll. But not too much into his music. I do like his first album. I think it's called Astral Weeks, and I'll put it up, a picture of it. I like that one, and I don't own it right now. I only have it on CD. But I like that album very much. But not too much into Van Morrison as far as past those first 2 or 3 albums that he has. So some of the good songs here: Ain't Nothing You Can Do, Believe to My Soul, Help Me, I Just Want to Make Love to You. I think that's a cover. Bring It On Home. Does a couple of covers here. Here Comes the Night. Gloria, which he did with his old band, Them. So yeah. And then here's the gatefold, so you can kind of see all that artwork there. So yeah, that's the backside. So yeah, decent live album. Next up is Van Morrison, Moondance. This is the other Van Morrison album that I do enjoy and like and own. Obviously you got Moondance, which is kind of like the big hit from this album. These Dreams of You, Everyone, Caravan, Into the Mystic. So a lot of good songs here. Moondance, Van Morrison. Next up is a couple albums by the same band. I'm going to just go ahead and pull them all out. And we're in W's now, so you probably would have guessed that all my albums would have to be The Who. And the first album that I have here, I just basically got yesterday. But I do have this on CD, and I have heard it before. And that is the Who Tommy. This, technically speaking, was released in early '69. But I still consider it kind of like that whole part of the Who's music kind of evolving into what we heard in the '70s. So I kind of keep those together. This was made into a musical, as many people know. And this is basically more or less a concept album. Great music here. You know, when you're listening to this album, it's kind of like you're listening to a story about this deaf and blind kid who is a pinball wizard, right? Or pinball. I can't think of the word. A pinball prodigy. So, yeah. Obviously, you got some classics here. You got Pinball Wizard. You got I'm Free. Let's see if I can find a couple more song listings here. You got Tommy, Can You Hear Me? We're Not Gonna Take It. That's kind of the long song towards the end of the story. So I mean, it's a good album. You gotta kind of listen to the whole thing because the songs are kind of connected to each other as part of a greater storyline. So, Tommy the Who. Next up is Quadrophenia, and this is another kind of big album for the Who. There was a movie. I guess this is the soundtrack from the movie Quadrophenia. So you got a lot of originals here. You got Quadrophenia. You got Love Rain on Me, The Real Me. I think that would probably be my favorite song from the whole album, The Real Me. So let me show you. It is a gatefold, so I'll kind of show you. So yeah, I've seen Quadrophenia many years ago, and it's a pretty good movie. It just talks about that era of the '60s and the mod scene. So it's a great movie to watch. Music by the Who, you can't do better than that. Next up is the Who's Next, and actually for some reason I got 2 copies of that album here. I think I kept this one because it's replacing this one, but this is a different pressing. I don't know if this is an older pressing. It might be because this one is from MCA Records. That's probably why I have them both. I think this is an older pressing by Decca. So, anyways, this is probably the Who's best album. Baba O'Reilly, Loving for Keeping, Behind Blue Eyes, We Won't Get Fooled Again. So a lot of hard rock tracks here, in my opinion, like just the heavier stuff. I think the Who was at their peak here, so definitely love this album, quite enjoy it. Next up is Who Are You, and I believe this might be the last album with Keith Moon. I'm not exactly sure. You might want to look that up because I'm not a Who historian, but I think this probably was close to the last albums that they made with Keith Moon. There's the back of it. This is a good album. I think probably the best song here is Who Are You. But I wasn't too into the other songs, to tell you the truth. I probably need to give it another listen to. But it's a decent album, I think. Who Are You? And then the last album is The Who Live from Leeds. A lot of people say that this is a great album. And honestly, I just found it kind of noisy and kind of hard to listen to. I might be wrong. Maybe my pressing is not very good. But I didn't really see kind of like the big deal about it. I might have to give it another listen, to tell you the truth. But I mean, I think it wasn't all that great of a live album. I think there's probably some better ones out there. But I guess this is kind of like one of their better ones. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I might be talking out of place, but wasn't too impressed by this album. Let me see what tracks are in here. Okay, so you got My Generation, The Magic Bus. You got Young Man Blues, Substitute, Summertime Blues, Shaking All Over. So I mean, I might need to give it another listen. Maybe I'm talking out of place here. But I after the first listen, I wasn't too impressed with this live album. But I guess some people do like it, so. The Who live at Leeds. Next up is a couple of albums by the same band, and I am talking about Wings. And I got one of their first albums, Band on the Run, and I actually just found a better condition copy of this, so I'm probably going to replace this copy. But this is definitely their best album, in my opinion. Definitely as good as the material that he could have put out at that particular time. So you got Band on the Run, Jet, Bluebird, Let Me Roll It. You got Picasso's Last Words, 1955, No Words. I do like, I think, side 1 more than I like side 2, to tell you the truth. But it's still a great album. And no, it's not a gatefold. I just need to. This album's kind of beat up because it's torn from the top. But yeah, there's a picture of it, and there's a picture of the back. So my favorite song from this album is probably Band on the Run, just because it sounds so epic and it's kind of it's almost like 3 songs in one. So really like Band on the Run. Next up is Venus and Mars by Wings. Another very good album, probably in the top 5 albums that he's ever made as a solo artist, Paul McCartney, or in a different band. There's the inside of the album, and here's the backside. And Venus and Mars is a pretty good song. Rock Show, I think I like a lot. Medicine Jar is a great song. Listen to What the Man Said, Call Me Back Again, Treat Her Gently, Lonely Old People. So a couple of very good songs here, Venus and Mars. And then you got Red Rose Speedway. To tell you the truth, this is one of the albums I've heard a lot about, but I still haven't listened to. Let me see what songs are in here. I might have already listened to a couple of them, not really knowing. Oh yeah, so this is the album that has My Love, so I know that song, and I like that song. It's kind of a soft song, but it's good. It's pretty good. Yeah, I haven't listened to the whole album from side to side, so probably need to do that before I make my final call on it. But yeah, I do like My Love. Next up is Wings at the Speed of Sound. This is probably the second album I ever heard from Wings. My dad used to play this all the time in the house. I always remember the backside of the album because it's got different angles of the same picture from each band member. And it's not a gatefold. But it's a pretty good album. I don't think it's as good as the first one. Let 'Em In is okay. Silly Love Songs I like that song. It's kind of, I have good memories of that song. She's My Baby. So, a decent album, but probably not the best. And then lastly, the last Wings album, and it's probably the one that if you're not too much into McCartney's material post Beatles, but you definitely might want to give this album a try. That's Wings Over America. This is a live album, and I think it's got 3. Yeah, it's a 3 album. So 3 record album. So this is the front. This is the gatefold from the inside. And there's the back. I think this is kind of like supposed to be a whole airplane. So yeah, so this is an awesome live album. Like I said, most people that aren't too much into Wings will buy this album and really enjoy the music. It plays a lot of the big hits from Wings, but it also plays some of the Beatles' old songs. Some of the songs that I think haven't been performed live in a long time, so that's kind of cool. And I really love the live version of Band on the Run here because it's kind of amazing that they put that song together live, so that's pretty cool. But definitely enjoyed this album, probably better than all the other Wings albums. So Wings Across America. Next up is a couple of albums by the same group. Let me kind of just get them all together here. And this band, recently I've heard a lot of people start praising this band a whole lot more than what I recall. Maybe they've always been a great band, I just never really paid attention to them. And the band that I'm talking about is Yes. And this is the first album I ever bought by this band, Fragile. And I've listened to this the most, I'll be honest with you, because I think I really enjoy all the songs here. Progressive rock, but really, really good progressive rock. Roundabout I don't care about listening to that song another 100 times. I love it. It's an FM classic. But I like South Side of the Sky. I like Heart of Sunrise, Mood of the Day, Long Distance, Run Around. So a lot of great songs here. Let me show you the back side of the cover. and that's just the inner sleeve. So yeah, great album by Yes. The next album that I've purchased was Tales from Topographic Oceans, and the word on the internet, from what I've ever heard, is this album is a little bit overindulgent just because of the very long tracks here. I think this is a double album. Let me confirm that. Yeah, it's a double album, so it's quite long, but it's got a lot of instrumentals in there, and some people love the album for that reason. But I think when you blow up a song way too long, you might kind of lose some people's attention, and maybe this is the case for this album. I have not listened to this yet. Probably need a little bit of time to do that because it is a long album. But I'm going to give that a shot when I have a chance. And there's the inside of the album. It's got some of the lyrics. And the back side. And then my last two albums, or actually last two albums of Just Yes, I got, next album is Relayer. And I have not had a chance to listen to this. Love the artwork though. My copy is a little bit damaged because someone's written on it. But it's got really nice artwork there. Let me pull the whole gatefold out. And amazingly enough, I think there's only 3 songs in this album. So I don't know what that's about. But haven't listened to it, and I probably will soon. Just to kind of get a feel for this band a little bit better. And my last Yes album is going to be Going for the One. I'm not going to show this album because it's not appropriate for YouTube. So I'm just going to, recommend that you look the album cover up on the internet if you're interested. Going for the One, I've heard this is one of their better albums. It's probably in the top 5 of Yes albums, which is the reason why I picked it up. I'll probably show the inside. The inside's got a nice gatefold there. I have not listened to this album yet, but as soon as I get a chance, I probably will. Next up is a couple of albums by the same group, and that album will be ZZ-Top's first album. So there you go. And there's the backside. So I'll be honest, I haven't really listened to this band too much. Let me see if there are any familiar songs. Yeah, I don't think I've heard any of these songs before. So I probably should give this a try, especially being that it's their first album. So ZZ-Top's first album. Next album is Rio Grande Mud. And let me see if there are any. Yeah, I don't think I see any of the songs that I know. So this is an album I haven't listened to any of the songs to. So it's there's the back of the cover. Yeah, so ZZ-Top, Rio Grande Mud. And this is the album that I have listened to quite a bit for ZZ-Top, and that would be Fandango. I don't know if this is one of their better albums, but this is the album that's most memorable to me because it's the first one I ever listened to. I think my dad used to play this when I was a kid. Obviously, there's some great songs here. There's a cover of Jailhouse Rock, but there's also Long Distance Boogie. Balinese, I think, is my favorite song from the whole album, and of course this is Tush is the big hit from this album. So great album by ZZ-Top. It's probably the most memorable one that I know. And without further ado, that is the end of the 70s albums that I have. There's a lot more that I wish I owned, but I don't have those. And I know that seeing me in the last couple of episodes, there's a lot of albums I still haven't listened to. And that's not on purpose. It's just time is kind of difficult for me to take time to listen to these because they do take about an hour and a half of your time sometimes to listen through the whole thing. So thank you for joining me today. It was a great pleasure to share these albums with you. Have a wonderful day, and I do look forward to starting the 80s hopefully tomorrow. So thank you very much and have a wonderful rest of your day.